Okay.
All right. Okay.
Oh, we're annoying Johnny. It's great.
Anything to help make you feel better.
Oh, okay. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Welcome to The Zip, episode number 3. We are a podcast here with a couple of newbies in the Vermont legislature, and we're just hearing from them and their perspectives. I'm Johnny Gifford. I'm the producer, and we are on your podcasting platform of choice, Brattleboro Community Television. We're also on YouTube. We have an email address, and we'd love to hear from you, TheZonIanPodcast at gmail.com. And I'd like to just say that Stardust is our opening song. It's composed by Clark Hubbard, performed by the Vanderbilt Percussion Group, and produced by Continuous Motion Productions. And with all of that housekeeping out of the way, I'd like to introduce once again the stars of the show. Zon Eastis, Wyndham 1, Ian Goodnow, Wyndham 9. What's up, guys?
Hey, Johnny. Happy summer.
Yep. Happy summer.
Boy, it is summer out there, isn't it?
Oh, boy, is it?
Yeah.
We're right about in the middle of summer here, thereabouts. And I know you guys have been up to a lot, as have I. But it's, the world never stops. The legislative motions and the very things that govern and dictate our lives never stop. Does it?
No.
No, it's changing every day.
Yeah.
So last episode, we really got deep into some state legislation as it related to what you guys did in the veto session, H454 and H91. But I think we should maybe zoom out a little bit. And while that stuff is really important to dictate what's going to happen in Vermont, there's so much happening around the country too, with federal legislation and this administration that's been in power for the last 6 or so months.
Yeah.
So there's this so-called big beautiful bill that passed that I'm sure we're all very aware of, and there's a lot of implications that come along with that we could talk endlessly about. But I'm curious, sort of what the bottom line is for Vermont. What does this mean for Vermont? Now, baseline, I would imagine it's kind of less federal assistance to individual states. That's sort of a bottom line. But I also know that Vermont has been sort of preparing for this for a little while. There's this thing called the E-Board I've been hearing about. That's the governor and some of the House and Senate leadership really preparing for having to make spending choices. I'm just curious if you guys can sort of illuminate some of these things that I'm sort of alluding to.
Sure, go.
Yeah. So we're filming this in early July, and the bill hasn't been out that long. So it's kind of multi-step, and the first step is assessing exactly what this bill could mean for Vermont. I think people who have been following it know that it rolls out over multi-years of what the impacts could be. And so it's sort of assessing what the immediate impacts are versus what the future possible impacts could be, because legislation that rolls out in multi-years, much like the education bill that we passed in Vermont, those things may not actually happen. So it's sort of assessing the risks and what the actual impacts will be now. So that's happening as we speak with the joint fiscal office, legislative council, and the governor's own staff
on the state side.
On the state side, yes. In Vermont, where those bodies are all looking at the bill and evaluating essentially what the impacts could be. And then at the end of the month, the E-Board that you mentioned, the emergency board, and also the Joint Fiscal Committee will be meeting to actually review that work that's done by those entities that I mentioned, and then also to hear from experts, take testimony about what potential actions could be taken.
Yes.
What I miss on?
No, it's good. It's good.
Fact check.
I think the only then what might happen if that we're not clear.
Oh yeah, that's the easy. I gave the easy part of the answer.
because when the legislature passed our budget, Vermont's budget for the coming year, we had to do it without knowledge of any particular knowledge, and we didn't attempt to guess in that budget what might be coming. So we passed a budget. Now we're going to be learning how that budget might actually be affected in the next year, and that in order to make it appropriate adjustments, whatever that means, we don't even know yet, will require the act of the legislature. So there's a chance we'll be called back before the January session. The next session, there's a chance we'll be called back in order to act on the findings and adjust the budget.
And that was like a specific provision within the budget bill that we passed this last session.
Oh, interesting.
That allows for the legislature to come back, get reconvened to address potential issues.
Is that something you had to be expressly
I believe so.
Express about?
That's I don't know if that's something that has been in other budgets, but I know that was part of a lot of the budget discussion had to do with what are going to be the federal impacts.
It's my understanding that the e-board has certain. It's already set up in a certain way. They have certain limitations on adjustments they can make to budgets going forward, but it's limited. And so we are expecting, and I think when we were doing the budget work, we were anticipating that any changes that might need to be made are larger than those limits, and that can only be done if the legislature approves it. So that's why we would be engaged later. We haven't been engaged. We haven't been called back yet. We're going to wait for the analysis of these three working groups, and then the hearings and the expert advice that that we'll hear at the end of the month, and then there will be decisions made about what happens next.
Yeah.
Do you guys know anything about that process of like sort of the analyzing? And you don't have to know anything. You're newbies, but like, are these outside contractors? Like, are they people you're working with in the state house? Like when you're in session, like, what is this all like state staff? That's kind of
like of those that initial
sort of discovery.
Those are all state. Those are a lot of those are state employees. Like legislative council are like the attorneys that work for the legislature in each committee. They have committee assignments or a couple committees, and they're basically, their job is to assist the legislature in drafting and amending legislation and statute. But it also, the ones that work within the fiscal area are also responsible for this type of work. So yeah, we absolutely work with them during the session.
That makes sense, because on an individual bill level, you need someone to proofread, someone with sort of this background of knowledge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's beyond that too. Just to give them a plug, they're they are amazing attorneys who bring an immense amount of institutional knowledge, and they're dipping their toes into statutes that have been amended at other times in legislative history, and they'll have that knowledge to remind the current committee about work that was done previously with some of the council who've been there a long time, and it's like that kind of invaluable institutional knowledge that can help draft really good statute. So,
and I'll just add that I think that those three entities, as well as we're not. I can't talk about the state treasurer or the attorney general or the secretary of state, but they're also involved in this conversation.
Sure.
And while they're doing, all these entities are doing their research and figuring out how this is going to be affected, they're also talking to all the other states, I'm sure, and learning. Not only are they working within Vermont's history about how we adjust budgets and how we move forward and how we amend and all that kind of stuff, but I'm sure they're talking to states to find out how they're dealing with this issue as well. And so there's a lot of multiple levels of learning that we're doing rather quickly here about how this bill is going to actually affect. And we all hear that the most, what would you say? I guess I call it the topic that we hear the most about is cuts in Medicaid.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be the most strenuous thing we're going to see happen immediately. And that has implications for Vermont's entire healthcare system,
which is already struggling.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was part of your question. How could this impact us moving forward? And I think that's the biggest one. Education as well, and I would say when we were working on the education bill, there was definitely discussion about that as well. Yeah. But it's hard. It's hard to draft a bill. It's hard to draft a budget when you've got potential fiscal impacts that are almost immediate that you don't know anything about yet. So there was a lot of, I think there was concern during the session about this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of people we're trying to figure out, are there ways that we could build any kind of protections or preparedness into bills? And we realized, I think ultimately, you just can't do that. It's not responsible to do that. So until we know more. And now we're starting to know more, and now we'll be able to start actually acting. It's interesting that we've been hearing so much about the bill, and as it's coming, and we know that Vermonters have already been affected individually, or organizations have been affected, but the state of Vermont has not yet been affected by these cuts. Just now are we going to start learning about what that means.
Yeah.
And that has broad implications all the way across the entire state.
Yeah. I mean, especially as it relates to what federal dollars are coming to the state through a variety of means, and I think that, to me, that seems like where the legislature has the most purview.
Yeah.
Because you're making the budget, and, you got to really readjust a whole lot if that's going to change on a moment's notice.
Yeah.
So good luck, guys.
Zon's got it. He'll take care of it. Yeah.
It's going to be impressive to see, but when you just, the context is that in order for us to build the budget that we did pass, there were 7 times the number of financial requests for budget dollars as were actually awarded in the budget.
So what does that mean? Like requests from within the state, from organizations
and government entities, like
departments, agencies, organizations, institutions. It's not about the all Vermonters asking. It's about the government asking for money as well. The administration asking for support.
I mean, there's so many government agencies that I continue to learn about.
Yes.
And then the pressures against what we already know, like for instance, the rising costs of healthcare coverage, we're anticipating, we've already understand that there's an expectation that there'll be a 23%, that Blue Cross Blue Shield, I think, am I right, is asking for a 23% increase in their costs. So to factor all of that into the budget, which was done. So the budget's already severely pressured. And now it's going to, we don't even know to the extent to which it's going to be pressured, but it's going to be amazing. It's going to be very difficult.
Yeah. And if we get called back, I mean, that'll be a pretty interesting thing for us to discuss here. Mm-hmm. As 2 newbie legislators, we our session went longer than I think any other session has gone.
Wow.
And this getting called back would be pretty fascinating. So yeah. And a peek behind the curtain, not all of the, but a lot of the newbie legislators were worried that we were going to immediately get called back when this bill, the federal bill, passed, and learning as we go that, oh no, there's got to be a lot of work done first before there's any kind of determination about whether the whole session has to be called.
I'm sure from your perspectives, it'll be interesting to, in theory, go to that session and see what all of the the veteran legislators are going to do and how they're going to act. Like if this is even really unprecedented for them, and if they're going to even be prepared for what's coming.
I give big shout outs to some of the leaders, like Emily Kornheiser. Just amazing the amount of work she's put in, both on the education bill, and now she leads this joint fiscal committee. And so there's just remarkable amounts of preparedness and readiness that she has to have, but then also to carry us all through and help inform us.
I just texted her before we started to fact check a couple things that Zon and I were both wrong about. So
we're still learning. There's plenty of learning.
Well, this show is the perfect excuse to get you guys under the magnifying glass a little bit and make sure that you guys are actually doing what you're supposed to do and getting it and knowing what you know.
No, I was just thinking about that. Yeah, it does help. It does. I think the podcast definitely it holds us to the fire a little bit to make sure that we're getting this, because you get a lot of stuff thrown at you. So
I mean, summer's a great time. Constituents are contacting me. I'm sure they are for you too, and they want to talk to us about issues and topics and things that matter to them. It's important. I want to do that work, but it's kind of a moment. Here we are. Here I am learning again at a different level. That kind of thing. So.
And really, the most important thing you can do in those instances is just to listen.
Absolutely.
And then you come back when you're actually taking action and forming bills and, conferring with your colleagues. That's when you come back, and those perspectives of your constituents, that's when they come out, I think.
Yeah, there's an article in the most recent
the
Commons. 2 articles. One that I found very interesting. One was about the vote on the education bill. and it outlines who voted for the bill and who voted no for the bill, and a little bit about each person spoke about why. And that's just interesting to read. It's a tiny, because we're just down in this corner of the state, but it's a little look at how varied and broad the opinions are in the legislature, and what are the reasons that people vote for one thing or another, what compels people, or how they move. Yeah. And then the other article to speak to, because it's very informative, is about the potential implications of the so-called Big Beautiful Bill on the healthcare system in Vermont. A good article. I will learn from it this morning. I didn't realize. I mean, I'm very worried about Vermont's healthcare system, but also this article mentions that Cheshire Medical in Keene and Bay State in Greenfield are at risk of closing. So. It's really, it's not just Vermont that this issue is going to. We're moving in a new direction here. Very tough.
It is very tough. I thought you had something really profound to say.
No, nothing profound.
A sigh is just as profound.
I think the sighs are pretty profound.
It's pretty profound in this moment in time where we find ourselves in. Yeah. So you talked a little bit about, some of the work that you might expect to do this summer, like really talking to constituents. So you both are kind of in that process, or what are some of the things that you're hearing right now from people that you're like talking to or hearing from? Is there anything that's really sticking out in particular, or is it sort of all over the map?
I'll just jump in quickly and say that I think the thing that I'm hearing most is people's concern about what's going to happen because of the federal government and the changes that are coming down. It's uncertainty, and they're looking in case I have answers, which I don't. What are advice and I just listen mostly. But I think one thing that I've learned, and I really see in the reading I'm doing, it's that this is an opportunity. Vermont's already good at this, but it's an opportunity for us to really band together in our communities and really understand one another and structure our lives going forward, in the short term at least, around notions of aiding one another and making sure that we're all held up in a reasonable way, because it's very scary for a lot of people. There are a lot of people that are scared. I'm also interested, I will say that I'm interested to learn. Every couple of weeks I learn of yet another person who's moving out of the country, going to either Canada or Europe, and that's intriguing. So I'm intrigued to learn about what one of our legislators is actually stepping away from the legislature. Yep. She just moved to Nova Scotia. So, and there are lots of different reasons, but the background is all the uncertainty of what's going on in the country right now.
Yeah. And I think I echo Zon on it. Definitely concerned over the federal government and what Vermont's response is going to be, and how it's going to impact Vermont. Definitely lingering questions around the education bill, as far as emails from constituents and conversations on the street, in the library, and in the co-op, and and then a couple fun little. One of the things I love about being an elected official, back to like select board and even like being on being a justice of the peace, is getting emails that are like really specific from people that are a very specific concern or issue, and getting to like learn about it. So I got one about pricing for like license, like for the DMV, like renewing your license. And, so stuff like that, where like, it's an interesting thing. I try to learn and help the person out. And so I've gotten a couple of those too.
That's interesting. Very, very specific. And people now, I'm finding that differently than before, because I wasn't at all responsible, but people are coming and say, did you know that the legislature did this last year? I didn't realize we changed the fee from 85 to 80. I don't know that.
Wait, we lowered the fee?
In one case, yeah.
Wow. I'm surprised we did that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's good. Yeah. I want to give a shout out also. In my district, there's a group of about, 30 to 50 people that meet every couple of weeks. And they've banded together themselves. They're organizing around just the topics about how we move forward in our community, and they're very active, very proactive, and they're doing a lot of different things. They choose an action or two each time they meet, and they talk about what would be really impactful, and so they're at it. It's really great to see.
Do you know how people would get involved in that if they listen to it hear it here on this podcast and want to be a part of it.
If anybody is interested, you could contact me, and I can get you in touch with the. So if you write an email here to this to our podcast,
Yeah, that's right.
Good plug.
I was waiting for another email plug. I was like really trying to be on it. We do have an email. It is TheZonIanPodcast@gmail.com. That is TheZonIanPodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
yes, and I'll connect you if anybody from Guilford or Vernon is interested in finding out more about this, because it's a good group, an energized group of folks. And there are even some Brattleboro people that come.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah,
Cool.
So, yeah. There you go.
I mean, and that just goes to show, like, you can be a part of the small community and take action in the small community. But I think at the end of the day, what Vermonters want to do is to band together against this like looming threat sort of coming from above and beyond our little state. And it's interesting sort of looking at those dynamics between the state legislative bills, like the education bill, how split that was and how sort of contentious it was and how much it changed. And like, you were even mentioning like even people in this corner of the state voting very differently on it for very different reasons. But I get the sense that, as it relates to the so-called big, beautiful bill and the federal issue, that people are a lot more banded together. Do you sort of get that impression during the session? Do you get that impression that people are a lot more on the same page on both sides of the alley there compared to some of the state legislation?
It's a little bit of a spicy question there, Johnny.
Yeah.
I like it.
Good question. I mean, I would say that in my district, there's not one person that has spoken to me about the value of the so-called big, beautiful bill. Not one person has come to try to convince me or ask me about it from that point of view. There may be people out there, and I'm sure there are, but
well, they probably don't want to engage with you.
Yeah. There you go.
Probably, this guy's a shill or whatever.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm not. I'm a good listener, and I consider things that folks say, but it is interesting. I would say
I'm curious to see what Zon's answer to this is.
I would say that in the legislature, it's not really talked about. We don't. You sort of feel it and you sort of know it, and maybe if you talk to one person, you might have a feeling. But again, I never approached it. I never approached anyone on the Republican side, for instance, about their views or trying to convince them in any way about anything. I'm actually just wanting to learn where they stand and how it affects how we do our work here in Vermont.
Sure, and I guess that's my question is like, do you get a sense of where people stand on either side of the alley as it relates to the federal issue?
As related to this issue.
Yeah.
I think
we will see.
Yeah, I guess
I think the budget was contentious in some ways, but it passed. It was not the last bill to pass, and it did pass, and it was signed by the governor. And that bill, that budget bill, was written considering federal impact, and it was contentious. Like there was a lot that was discussed there along party lines, and so. Yeah, there's definitely people considering the federal element of this when we're thinking about Vermont, and I think it isn't all banded together. Is my honest take. But that said, that was all sort of with the shadow looming of something that could happen. Now we're actually in it, and we'll have to see
what happens. And I will also say that my sense is that I don't know about every single person, but the sense I have is that legislators are there for Vermonters. We're really about the well-being of Vermonters, and the Republicans, Democrats, we're all going to be aware of the harm and the hurt that's going to be done to many Vermonters here pretty soon, and we're going to have to address that. And I think that we'll all be standing and facing one another as we do that. And I think we're going to get behind Vermonters. Not into parties as we do this, is my thought.
Oh, it's a good little slogan there.
We'll see.
What was it again?
We're not running yet. We're not running yet.
Exactly. Well, I think that's what I'm there for. I think we're there to get behind Vermonters.
There to get behind. That sounds like the name of the episode.
There we go.
There
we go. All right, good.
There you go. Well done, Zon.
Forward. Yeah, there we go. All right, good. Yeah.
Yeah. So we just have a few minutes here, I think. I don't want to go so long like the last episode. We really got into the weeds on that one. And there's so much more to talk about this issue, but I think we just got to kind of wait and see what's going to happen, especially if you guys get called back. That's going to be some really interesting information to really talk about on this platform. But
in 2 weeks, we're going to know a lot more than we know right now.
Right? Yep. Absolutely. So I think we should, that's maybe a good stopping point to really stop thinking about the big looming things, and let's maybe transition to something a little nicer, a little more casual. I want to give a moment of recognition to each one of us at this table, just for where we're at, what we're doing. It's summer, things are happening. The world is alive. At least here in southeastern Vermont. Zon, I want to give you a moment of recognition. You just won a governor's award.
Oh.
Yeah, that's right. And I want to. It's the Margaret L. Cannonstein Award for Arts Advocacy that you just won. And talk a little bit about that. What does this award mean? How did you get this?
Yeah, how did I get this? Well, I do know that. Let's see. So the Vermont Arts Council. I used to work at the Vermont Arts Council. I did for 6 years, and the Arts Council. Now the awards are biennial. They come out every 2 years, I think. They used to come out every year. They started when the council began in the 60s. So so
now it's a bigger deal now.
There's a set of awards that's been given since the 60s.
Wow.
So right now the council gives out 5 awards, and this one is for advocacy, meaning that it's not about me being a musician as a performer or whatever. It's about the work that I've done in order to enhance the creative sector in the state of Vermont. And I think that I've done a lot of work in that area, and it's so as have a lot of other people. I mean, I'm not the first person to win this award.
Sure.
It's been around for a while, and people have won it. But here the process is that I got nominated, as well as I suppose some other folks. There's a committee that works and then recommends to the governor these awards, and then there you go.
And I know that was like a pretty decent chunk of what your platform was. Obviously not all of it, because you're a multifaceted person, as any politician should be. But talking to you when you were running for this seat, it was, priority of yours was to help the arts. And
in fact, one of the things that I just had begun conversations, not because of this award at all, but I had just begun conversations in the legislature about the idea of maybe establishing, seeing if there's energy to get going on a creative sector caucus in the legislature. And I think there's energy. People were buzzed by the idea. So that's probably something I'll look toward doing in the next year in session, pull together the folks that are interested in a meeting on a regular basis and get some folks, experts in, and see how we can just become more aware. And because I'm a big believer that the creative sector, it's an absolute fact, but I'm also, whether it's a fact or not, I'm a big believer that it's a vital part of any community. And Vermont has a lot of communities that are really vibrating with the creative sector as a central part of how they work and function. Brattleboro is an amazing example of that.
Yeah.
Way.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So I believe in the notion that any community can get vibrating if it wants to through creativity, and I think that. So anyway, I'm very honored to have won this award. It was really touching when the director called me and told me that I was going to be getting it. Very sweet. There will be an event in September 17th, I think, over in Manchester. There's one award every year that's called the Governor's Award for the Arts, and that's the primary award. And that is being...
You're going to get that next year?
Probably not. I think once I got this one, I'm done.
Yeah.
But I can go a long way with this one. So that's
who's to say if you get nominated again?
Yeah, you just
it's not really in your hands
necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what this is, not in my hands. So it feels really nice.
Is that the Southern Vermont Arts Center?
The event's going to be at the Southern Vermont Arts Center in Manchester on September 17th.
Cool.
In the evening.
Is that open to the public?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. There's if you go to the VermontArtsCouncil.org, you can find, you'd have to poke around, you can find the awards event.
Cool.
And,
Well, congrats again, and I'm excited to hear about this this creative sector caucus in the legislature. That is really interesting to me. I'd love to.
I think it'll be fun.
Put a pin in that. Talk about it again.
Yeah, we should definitely. And as someone who's married to an artist, I want to tell you, I'm very appreciative of all the work that you've done to promote art in Vermont over all the years. Thank you.
You're very sweet.
Yeah,
thank you.
Not too sweet, but
we can't give all the attention to Zon now.
No. As much as he deserves it. Let's get over here.
Let's get over to Ian.
And we're going to talk about you too, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Good. Absolutely. But Ian, I know you don't want to talk about it a whole lot because you're so humble, but you just hiked a decent chunk of the long trail, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I really do. So how was that experience?
It was great. I just spent the last 2 weeks in the woods, so I'm a little tired right now. But I've thru hiked the trail twice in my life before, and I did 230 miles of it this time. I was texting with Zon about it. I had a little bit of an ankle or Achilles injury that I got off the trail a little early near the end. And actually that was like more of a growing moment for me than just like finishing the trail in the pain.
What to accept that you have to step off for the safety of your own health.
A younger Ian would have just like pushed through. And I think it was really good for me to like listen to my body and actually do what I needed to do. So that was great.
Yay for wisdom.
Yay for wisdom. Yeah. Zon just texted me that I was getting old.
In a good way.
Yeah. But you know what was really great about it was the trail has been like my wife and I, we got married on top of Mount Mansfield. She and I have hiked the Appalachian Trail. I've spent a lot of time growing up in the Green Mountains and on the Long Trail. So it's kind of been there for me in a lot of different times in my life. And like finishing the first half of my first legislative biennium, it was a lot to unpack and think about. And so doing that in the woods up in the mountains was like really therapeutic and good for me. And shout out to Rob Hunter, the rep, one of the reps from Manchester, just talking about Manchester. Okay. He came and picked me up for a resupply off the trail. It was really fun to hike through the Green Mountain State and think about all the different reps and all the different people that I met in the last 8 months from all over the state. And just coming down to communities and being in places that aren't Brattleboro and not Montpelier either. Sure. It was a nice little caps to the end of the session.
Very cool.
Yeah, I love that you're going through that experience again, but with a new perspective of like, these are all the communities that, we're serving and that the representatives here.
Trying to serve.
Right. Well, other people are, people all serve their own communities and everything, but it gives you a perspective of like, oh, I know I'm more connected to this community maybe than I was before.
I've heard it, it's sort of cliche, but you kind of make friends like in every community in the state when you serve in the legislature because you get to meet people from every corner. And that is a really special part of it. And something that's as a newbie, really, really, really unique. So
yeah,
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Congratulations.
Well, congratulations to you too, Zon. What are we congratulating Johnny about?
Let's see. Well, I think, I'm really proud of my organization here at BCTV, and we just came back from an annual conference in Boston. That was at the end of June. And we took home some awards, and like Vermont as a whole is becoming such like a staple of like, hey, you want to learn like the models of how to do community media right? Like look at what Vermont's doing all across the state there.
Oh, that's good.
And sort of walk through these halls and go through these vendors and these breakout panels and sessions with people always talking about, oh, Vermont this, Vermont that is really amazing. And I feel really fortunate to be a part of it and to sort of be, sort of a leader as well. I serve on the board of directors for the statewide organization that sort of lightly governs all of the community media centers. But the Vermont Access Network as a whole won this Dirk Koenig George Stoney Award for Humanistic Communication.
Oh, fantastic!
Because the national organization, the Alliance for Community Media, recognized all the work that we've done in the last decade, ranging. I mean, I wasn't here for most of it. But
take credit.
But I'm taking credit for it anyway. Ranging all the way from like the work we did with sort of renewing the certificate of public good for the cable companies like 10 years ago, ranging all the way to the work that we've done in the legislature wearing paper hats and serving you ice cream.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, there's a great photo of that I hope never resurfaces.
Well,
There's
now
a,
I know what I'm doing
Call.
when I leave this
It'll be
podcast.
right up. It'll pop right up. Yeah, exactly.
But we've done a lot to advocate for ourselves in Vermont, and
Yeah.
we're creating a sustainable model for community media because we want to serve Vermonters,
Yeah.
and we want to give people this platform and the ability to learn, educate themselves on how to create media, how to intake media, all sorts of things like that. So I'm feeling really proud of
That's very
of
inspiring.
our center specifically, and just of what we're doing across the state right now.
Yeah. Well, Zon and I benefit from all the work you're doing, having our podcast on here. We're
That's
really
right.
appreciative. And also, it's more important than ever. Community, like local community, access to media. It's just right now.
As we were talking earlier about the notion of working in your community, know your community, be part of the community, activate the community. That's what's going on. So appreciate it very much. Yeah.
Yeah.
In an era of so much oversaturated information that may or may not be true or may not be generated by AI, I think what we're doing is really important.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
When you said humanistic, yes, go for it.
Yes,
Yeah.
not robotistic.
Are you using AI yet?
Only to generate like show name ideas?
Yeah.
Or whatever. That's like pretty much all I use it for, because I can't think of a good show name.
You're like, Chat GPT, help me out. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was the Zon Ian Podcast,
yes,
the Zip, this totally human, organically made.
This is an organic show title.
Yeah, though I did spit them out a lot of AI ideas, but we had to get through them. We had to get through them.
Yeah.
So we're going to wrap up the Zip here. It ended up being just about as long as last episode, but I think with a lot more personal stuff at the end, which I'm totally cool with.
Yeah.
So this is episode number 3 of the Zip. This is a podcast with a couple of Vermont legislators who are relatively new in the legislature, and we get their perspectives. We're on your podcasting platform of choice. We're on Brattleboro Community Television, which is brattleboro.tv.org, and we're also on YouTube. We have an email address when we'd love to hear from you. It's TheZonIanPodcast at gmail.com.
3 plugs.
Three plugs. Start filling our inbox. We're desperate. Give us ideas of things to talk about, or just tell us if you hate us or love us or somewhere in the middle. I'm Johnny Gifford. I'm the producer. Really happy to be here with my colleagues Zon and Ian. And our outro song, Stardust, is composed by Clark Hubbard. It's performed by the Vanderbilt Percussion Group and recorded and produced by Continuous Motion Productions. Thank you for spending some time with us, and we'll see you next time on The Zip.
Bye.
See you next time.